Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Frank Deneen here. Welcome to Radio Pitch and Putt's annual view on the Irish match play. This year it's 2023 in St. Bridget's. I am delighted to be joined by two players who very unluckily did not qualify for this year's finals and would have been absolute favourites to be there if they had. The local hero, winner of last week's Leinster Match Play champion, is with me, Mr. Ian Dillon. Good evening, Ian.
Good evening, Frank. How
And
are you?
we also have number two player in Ireland, would again have been one of the favourites to win the event, Mr. Damien Fleming. Good evening, Damien.
Hey Frank, how are things? How are you Ian?
Excellent.
Good. How are you on it, Demo? Are you well?
Right.
All good.
Okay,
Good.
guys, before we start, I'm just going to make one or two little comments. The world of pitch and putt, I should do these more often, to be honest. Once every year or 6 months isn't good enough. We're going to do this more often. But the world of pitch and putt has had some trials over the last year. We lost John Byron in Cork. Last week we lost Miles McMorrow, vice president of the PPY. Michael Murphy, who's long-term secretary and office administrator for the Pitch Putt Union of Ireland, is retiring. We are, as a game, we are in a state of flux, but at the same time, these things sometimes bring great opportunities as well. So we commiserate with anyone who has passed in the last while, and we look forward to progressing further. Gents, before I start, and we're going to go Ian first and Damien second. Before I just start, I just want to make a comment about the qualification criteria for the match play event. As always, it's a huge bugbear with me where we have players. For example, Ray Murphy was drawn against Chris Scannell in the first round in a lovely prepared Lakewood course, but on a Monday night in Cork. And as usual, there's huge top players. Are missing from the event purely because of an open draw within the situation. I believe there should be some kind of way of regionalizing it or managing it better. Ian, do you have any thoughts on that, or what's your thinking?
I would agree with the stroke play qualifying because it's hard for me to play during the week with working late in like 7 to 7, like so it'd be tough for me to take a few nights off. So I would prefer probably maybe a stroke play qualifying. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to know.
And Damien, what's your thinking?
Yeah, I suppose it's probably an easier answer because it doesn't seem like it's kind of a element of sore loser about it. But looked at really going ever playing the competition with the view of trying to increase entries to try and avoid those draws. Historically, you always get them. You always get a few shocks in the qualifying. That is, in one essence, that's the beauty of match play. Mm-hmm. Not sure about stroke play qualifiers. I think with this match play event, I kind of feel like it should be a match play qualifier, but I do feel we have to look at something. Be it seeding or be it looking at maybe like looking at Ian says there, should it be taken away from the weeknights? That's one thing. I don't know. Look, there's plans to look at that. I suppose it's important to look at and get everyone's ideas regarding what they feel. It might be no hard to give the stroke play qualifiers. It's never been done, or maybe have stroke play the first night and then have match play the second night, break it down that way or something along those lines. I'm not sure. Something has to be looked at anyway, because, and then not just saying it because we didn't qualify or anything like that, but I suppose like historically over the years, especially in Cork, it's very noticeable in Cork. You often have like two match play winners that might have played in the final at one time or have won the match play playing the first night of the qualifiers. And yeah. I suppose it's all about promoting the game and to promote the game correctly. I suppose you want to have these games happening where you can actually, I suppose, show them in a public forum, and that's the main event. Let's be honest about it, So something has to be looked at, but I think something is going to be looked at, so at least that's positive,
At least that's positive. The greatest game I ever witnessed personally was Ray Murphy versus Chris Scannell in Castletown a number of years back. It was in the semi-final of the Irish match play. Definitely, in my view, was the greatest match I've ever seen. And they're the types of matches that you want in the finals weekends, if you can. Not everybody's going to qualify. People are just sometimes bad and they don't play well or they don't qualify. But, you'd like to have those matches, if possible, in the finals rather than anything else. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. Right, what we're going to do is the normal format for this. Your heads are on the blocking chop. Your heads are about to roll here, guys, because we're going to ask you for real predictions on who you think are going to manage to get through each of the games throughout the entire system, ultimately coming up with a winner. And we're going to take it. Ian, you're up first for the first half, and we're going to go through the matches one by one, and we're going to ask you for a prediction on each of the match. The number one match has Barry Morrissey from Bishopstown, my great pal, against Dahi Sexton from Fermoy. Ian, how do you see this rolling?
It's good. It's good to see the defending champion. Barry Morrissey was up there during the week. He played in our Scratch Cup. Dahi played in our Scratch Cup. He bet Brian Delaney in the qualifying, I think.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And I think Mr. Delaney had a good score in Rock Lodge during the week.
He did.
So I think I will chance Dahi Sexton on that one.
Okay.
Damien? Game, though.
Yeah, it'd be a tough. Great start. Damien.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, to be honest with you. The betting heavily favours Dahi, which I think is the rock the bookie perished on last year. I know he didn't lose much money on Barry, but I suppose Barry showed last year what a good match player he is in Douglas. He's put a lot of practice in, I know, from talking to him, and I know he didn't perform very well down in Tralee by his own admissions, and I know Dahi played consistently well down in Tralee. Look, on paper, you be thinking Dahi's going to win this all day, but I don't know. I have a sneaky feeling about Barry. I suppose I have a graw towards the defending champion, and I know I've been in that position playing in that match. I just feel I don't know. I had a conversation with Barry and Tralee. There was just something about that conversation that I feel Barry is. I feel he's motivated, to be honest with you, and I think the tag of defending champion. I think the motivation for that alone. I think Barry might get through that match, which will probably surprise people that I say that, but I think Barry might get through that match.
Thanks, guys. So the first match comes down to a deciding vote by me. Right, lovely. I've great time for Barry Morrissey. He's a character in the game, and the game needs characters. I was never so delighted to see anyone win a national match play. For me, the spirit of our great friend Shane Murphy was on Barry's shoulder that whole weekend, in my view. I've never seen anything like it. But Dahi's playing really well, and I'm going to vote for Dahi Sexton to go through, and we'll move on to the second game. Right, this is another very interesting game. George McGreal Old County versus Thomas Hanley from Bruff. Ian, how do you read this one?
It's another tricky match. This could go either way. No, George finished second in our Scratch Cup there this year. I haven't seen Tommy much this year, so I don't know what way he's playing. George played well, in fairness to him, last weekend as well. So I'm deciding. I think I'm going to go with George for this one.
Very good.
Damien? Yeah, I don't. For me, George as well. I think George is playing consistently well for the last couple of years. I won't say Tommy isn't playing too well, but I just think up in St. Bridget's, I think George will win that match, to be fair. Both great players, but I think George will win it.
Great. I don't even have to vote. Yeah, George is good, super player, is due a big run in one of these, I think. Okay, next match. Another really good match. There's some really, really good matches at the top of the draw here. Dennis O'Sullivan from Douglas versus Jason O'Regan from Tralee. Ian.
Yes, another tough match. Jason is a good match player. I think he made one or two semi-finals. I'm not sure, but
at least two anyway.
Yeah, a good match player. Dennis got through I think beating Owen Walsh.
He did.
I just going to go chance with Jason O'Regan for this one. It'll be a close game though.
Very good. Damien?
Yeah, I'm going to get killed here regardless. If I say Jay is going to win, he's going to kill me for journalising. And if I say he doesn't going to win, he's going to kill me for not picking him.
Yeah.
I play with Dennis and Raffine this year in the Cork leagues, and to be honest, he was playing great stuff. I'm not sure. I know he's a new father. I'm not sure if that's actually how that's affecting his game. I haven't seen him in a while, so I don't know how he's playing. I think Jason beating John down in the Munster match play was a massive confidence boost for Jay.
Yeah.
And look, he's been to give him his credit. He's been to 3 match play semi-finals. And I just think, I know he by his own admission, he probably feels he's a little bit off at the moment, but I just feel that if he puts the preparation in it and gets things right on the day, I think he'll be hard to beat. So I think it'll be a very, very tight match, but I think Jay might just shade it.
Okay, we have 2 votes for Jason. I would have voted for you, Dennis, but that's
yeah,
that's democracy for you.
I'm going to vote Ollie Kerry, Lance. I'm going to vote on.
Okay, Darren McNally, Bagnallstown versus Stephen O'Reilly, Hillview. Stephen got to the semi-final of the Irish Match Play when it was in Larkspur Park a couple of years ago. I don't know Darren McNally. Ian?
Darren is a Bagnallstown. He's a good player. He got out of the Carlow region. Like, he's playing well. He won the Glenville Scotch Cup last year, and I know Stephen O'Reilly played, as you said, he got played in the semi-final in Larkspur 2 years ago, and it's going to be a close game, but I think I will chance Stephen O'Reilly in this one.
Very good. Damien?
Yeah, look, Stephen. I think Stephen, if I'm not mistaken, won the Tipperary match play there recently. Darren is, if I have the right person, is the same. He's same man shot 13 under in the Scratch Cup in Rocklands last year for the second round. In my eyes, anyone could shoot 13 for 18 on Rocklands in the Scratch Cup last year, because the scoring, I think 16 won it on the same day. I just think like there'll be some sort of a home advantage for Darren up there. I know Stephen is the kind of person that puts in an awful lot of practice, so I imagine Stephen has probably been up to St. Bridges quite a bit. I think Darren will win that one. I just feel Darren will. He's an up and coming player. He's definitely shown some potential the last 12 to 18 months, and I feel he'll win that one.
Okay, another split vote. My view, I don't know Darren at all, to be honest. But to have made it as far is an achievement. I do know Stephen O'Reilly. I know he's super dedicated, and he will have practiced in Bridget's. I'm going to go with Stephen O'Reilly here, and we will move on now. Chris Scannell, who came through the draw of death in Cork, beat Ray Murphy the first night. Owen Shannon was in that group as well as was myself. He's playing Kieran MacDonald from Killinear. Ian?
Yes, Chris, I've seen some of that matches, and I think he chipped in on the last to beat you, frankly.
Yeah.
Kieran, he's from Killinear. I think he's an Inter. He's played well last week as well in the match play in Bagnallstown last week. But I think Chris will be too strong for Kieran. Gotta go with Chris.
Okay, Ian? Or sorry, Damien?
Yeah, look, I don't know much about Kieran, to be honest with you. So look, I go with Chris. I think Chris is experienced, and he'll know St. Bridges quite well. So I go with Chris to that match. Yeah.
Good. Next match: John Walsh Collins versus Aidan O'Sullivan Brough.
I don't know Aidan O'Sullivan personally now, so John is, what can you say about Mr. Walsh? He's unreal. Like, he's 5 or 6 All Irelands. I don't know, lost count, but I definitely just going to go with John. I don't know Aidan myself now.
Demo?
Personally.
Yeah, I think that's probably Aidan's first time qualifying. I'd imagine. I'm feeling he would be in the intermediate section, if I'm not mistaken. Look, I think it'd be a great experience. Anytime you play against John Jen, it'd be a great experience. But I think John Jen should have too much for that match, to be fair.
Great. Next match, Philip Byrne Brinny versus Gary Healy Loughlinstown. Philip Byrne won the Munster Intermediate Match Play last week in Tralee.
He's probably a senior now, is he?
Oh, he is, yeah.
He is.
He was one of the guys that came back into the intermediate ranks. There was a few of them around the country, I believe, that I thought it was great that they got a chance in intermediate, and almost some of them are straight back down to senior again. They were on the cusp, but I think he's in good shape there. He's a good player. Sorry.
He's a good game. Gary Healy is playing well now, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
I have seen some of that match there last week as well. Philip Burns, he was pitching very well. But I'm just going to give it to Gary. Just be close game. I can't. I'm just going to go with Gary Healy.
Okay, no problem. Damien?
Yeah, no, look, Philip is definitely Philip is a good player, to be fair. Like, and he's going to be brimming with confidence after winning. But he also shot a very good score in Rockledge during the week in the Open. I feel Philip feels probably he has something to prove. To be honest with you, I just get that feeling off from this year. He feels like he's something to prove, maybe to himself, maybe to others as well. I just feel maybe around Bridges, Gary get to the final there last year in the Leinster, and I think he won a scratch cup there as well, Ian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did.
So I think that experience around St. Bridges probably stand to Gary, and he's trending the right direction with a good performance in a lot of the majors the last couple of years. So I think Gary, but I think Philip will give a good showing.
I think that'll be a tight game, but yeah, Gary's got the vote from this jury. Okay, Cian O'Callaghan, Bishopstown Keynes, an intermediate player, versus Christopher Gibney Jr. from Listowel. Ian?
I don't know Cian personally.
He won the junior Ireland stroke play a couple of years ago.
He won Stack Island, didn't he?
Yeah.
Big final round.
10 under final round, yeah.
Oh, yes, I remember now. I know Christopher was down in our scratch cup. I'm not sure how he played, but Cian, good inter. I'm just going to go with Christopher on this one.
Great. Damien?
Yeah, look, Cian's a fine player, to be honest with you, up and coming. Won't lack any confidence. I just think a good pitch book consistent over a while. He'll definitely some fella that will put in the practice. He won the 11 stone on turn. He was up there during the week already. Had a conversation with her already, not to be taking Cian for granted. So I think Christopher will, once he doesn't kind of get complacent and take Cian for granted, I think she should have enough to get over that one. Yeah.
Great. Liam O'Donovan Bruff, 3 times Irish stroke play champion, versus John Delaney from St. Bridget's, one of your local guys, Ian.
Yes, John is back playing well this year now. He's been on the inter-county team the last couple of years. But I don't know, what can I say about Liam? Liam is 3 national titles. I have to go with John just because he's local. He's practicing a good bit there now, so I'm just going to go with John.
Right.
I don't know how Liam is playing it this year.
Damien?
Look, it depends what Liam turns up. To be straight, that's the reality. Look, if Liam turns up, he's the potential to beat everyone in it. Like, we all know that. So I like experience-wise and that kind of stuff. John's obviously going to be nervous playing at home. I'm going to take Ian's nod each year if Ian thinks John is playing well, and if John is playing enough. But I'll give John the nod, which we'll probably get slated for after Liam will kill me. But I'll give John the nod.
You're shocking, right? Okay, we changed that. That goes to 2. Right, Martin Keohane.
Well, you and Liam, did you?
Oh, I would have, yeah. But I don't have to, you see. That's the beauty about Cold Nast. Right, Martin Keohane, Bruff, fine player from Limerick, intercounty player, and Gavin Carroll from Tralee. Ian?
Um, yeah, Martin is a good, solid player. As you said, on the Limerick team, he's been thereabouts. He's on Scratch Cups. I'm not sure about. Do I know Gavin Carroll, Damien? I'm not sure.
Well, he came out of my section in qualifying, so
All right, good
I,
player,
I
sir.
I know him. So
I'll just go and take a chance on Martin Cohan.
Okay. Damien?
yeah, look, I'm going to give you a casting vote here, Frank. I'm going to go with Gavin. The reason being, to be honest with you, I feel he beat Jason Cregan in qualifying in a cracker of a match, but then he lost in the first round of the Munster match play against James. Which,
that's exactly the point. That's the point I was going to make. That James tells me that he's a better player than you now because Gavin Carroll beat the guy who beat you, so he beat him, so he's better than you.
That's grand. If he wants it, he can have it. But I feel like Gavin will want to right that wrong. To be honest with you, and I feel he's a fantastic player. I'm not just saying he's been playing great pitch and putt all year. James played very well to beat him in the stole, and if James hadn't played the way he did, I think Gavin would have probably been very hard to beat in the competition. So I'll go with Gavin. He's playing well.
Very good. No, I have to give it to my old buddy Martin Cohan as the casting vote. Martin has beaten me a couple of times in events, and he'd never let me live it down if I didn't vote for him. So Martin gets my vote and progresses to the next round. Damien, I'm going to go with you first on this one because you can tell me who's going to win this because you can't upset any local now by choosing either Michael Conway from Tralee or Martin Hobart from Tralee. So who's going to win it?
Well, first of all, it's Alan Hobart. It'd been easy if it was Martin Hobart because I definitely choose Michael Conway off Martin Hobart. But yeah, to be honest with you, they played each other in the Munster match play, and Mike won the game relatively handy. To be honest with you, They're both very, very good players. Like Mike was fifth in the national stroke last year. Alan shot that wonder score on Tralee all those years ago and has consistently played very well last year and did the county, being called in the last late notice for us from Rockledge. Two fantastic players, but I'm going to side with Mike. I think Alan's not too fan of match play. And if nothing else, me saying that Mike will beat him might motivate him to beat Mike. So either way, it's going to be a win-win. Whichever one of them, they're two good friends. They're going to probably stay together up there. But I think Mike could have enough to beat Alan.
Ian, you going to disagree with that in there?
No, I don't think so. But I played against Alan in Larkspur, and he played really well. In fairness to him, good player. As always thereabouts, and in the county as well. Michael, as Damien said, he finished fifth last year, and he won did he win the intermediate All Ireland as well?
He did a couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to give it to Michael.
Grant, no, you actually reminded me that Michael came fifth in the national stroke play. I played with him that day. I was so impressed by the way that he handled himself in the final round. No pressure got to him. He was excellent. So yeah, Michael gets the vote from this jury. Okay, Justin McKeown Prosperous versus William Buckley Jr. Erie. Ian.
Justin won the intermediate All Ireland in Navan there a couple of 2 years ago. He's a good player. He's first time in the county last year. He's back. He's playing well like this year. What can I say about Mr. Buckley? He goes everywhere. He was beating semi-finalists last year. I was following my heart or my head. I'll go with Mr. Buckley for this one.
Very good.
Just be close to him, though.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the Justin McKeown. This is one that's the led one in Navan and the intermediate, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm going to go with Willie. I think if Willie puts well, I think he's going to be very hard to beat. He's a fantastic pitcher of a ball, and I think I'm going to go with Willie. I'm just going on a gut instinct more than anything else. But like as Ian says, it'll probably be a very tight game.
William Buckley, one of the greatest pitchers ever to play the game. Right, next one. Peter O'Donovan Bishopstown. Peter won the Cork Charity Scratch Cup a couple of weeks ago in in superb style, has done very well in a couple of scratch cups around the country, is really on top of his form, did well in Royston a couple of years ago. Against Mr. Mark Miller, again, one of the greatest players ever to play the game. Ian, your choice.
This is going to be a good game to watch. Peter, as you said, like he was third in our scratch cup this year. Peter was. Mark played well last week. His pitching wasn't great in the semi final against Stephen, but Peter is playing well this year, and I'm going to just give it to Peter for this one.
Okay. Damien?
Yeah, I was the person that I think beat Peter in the quarterfinal in Royston.
Yeah.
I still probably say it was probably one of the best games I've ever played.
Wow.
And it was virtually impossible to beat him. I think it was about 23 or 24 under, but I think at one stage I got 12 twos in a row, and I think I won one hole. Like, he showed me something that day, to be honest. I remember, I was very, very impressed that day. Now, I know he was after buy last year, but I think there was probably reasons for that. He is back playing well, and knowing Peter, he travels with his old friend there, Barry, and I'd say the two of them have probably put in a lot of work up in St. Bridget's. But to be fair, like, Mark is Mark. He's not going there to make up the numbers. And as much as I think it'll probably, if I was going up there and I was going to watch a match, I'd probably watch that one. But I'm going to give it to Mark, to be honest with you. I just think Mark is I think he's playing well, and like even the last number of match plays, like I think did he get to the semi-final of the Leinster last year? Did he win the Leinster last year? And he got to the semi-final again this year. I just think, and by all accounts, he is playing very good pitch and putt, But you won't see Mark in much scratch cuffs, but like he's always there when it comes to, So I think Mark will have enough to take Peter, but it'll be a cracker for match, I'd say.
So you're leaving this down to me, guys. Peter O'Donovan.
You're going to go with Cork.
No, hang on. No, Peter O'Donovan can be absolutely brilliant when his mind is right. He is a superb player. And to be honest, Mark Miller is kind of the same. When both of these boys are in form, they can be awesome. I think Mark has done it before, though, and Mark will be prepared for a fairly serious match. I think I had a big argument during the week. Peter is the outsider in this match, and quite a reasonable outsider as well. And I thought that was, I'm not sure is that right, but I have to give it to Mark Miller purely on experience, but I would not be surprised at all if Peter was to come up victorious there. But again, it depends on which Peter shows up, but likewise, it depends which Mark shows up. I'm giving my vote to Mark Miller. Okay, Tom McCormick, Royston versus Cian Murphy, St. Anne's. This is Cian now, this is Ray's son. And Tom McCormick from Royston, is he the old lad? Is he the chap who might be a bit older than me, Ian?
No, he's a bit younger than you, Frank.
All right, okay, that's grand.
He's he left the pitch and put there for a while there. He was on the winning team in 2000, and for the Kildare team, he was captain.
Oh,
he lives over in England. He plays over in England. He joined Royston the last few years, and he travels over and back every so often. You say Cian Murphy, second in the Gelders, I think, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
Playing well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to give it to Tom because the home advantage. That's all I can say.
Great. Damien, do you know Tom McCormick?
I don't. I know Cian though.
Yeah.
Look, I'm kind of going. I'm going to side with Ian here. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for Cian, and it's a great experience. I think I'd go with Tom, but I think Cian will leave a good account of himself. He is playing good pitch, but this is a big step up for Cian to step up to this ranks,
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone is inside on how to win a national match play, Cian should have us. I wouldn't rule him out from winning a couple of matches, but like I think Tom should probably, if he's has won an intercounty like that and is captain, I imagine he's well able to play. So I would give it to Tom.
Great. Okay. I like to say I was thinking of the wrong Tom McCormack. Right. Donald Tarpey from Mellows. Donald's been a regular at national championships. James Casey from Gowran. No idea who James Casey is.
He
Ian,
won the Leinster Junior match play there last week.
junior match play, Leinster junior match
Yeah,
play. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Uh, I don't know much about Donald, but I know he's been around a couple of years there in the stroke play, and I think he's been between senior and inter. I think.
Mhm.
As I said, James Casey won the Leinster Junior match play last week. Uh, Good young talent. Um, I'm just going to give the Donald because I'm just going to give the Donald for this one.
Okay. Damien?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure of any of the two names, to be honest. I'm going by what you're saying. I know Donald have been a regular, I suppose, regular performer in these things. He's normally there most years. So yeah, look, I think experience alone should get him over the line. You'd imagine if James is just coming out of the junior grade, but like, look, from what you've seen in the last few years, coming out of the junior grade could mean that the person is capable of playing the senior level. But just experience alone, I'll give that one to Donald.
Great stuff. Okay. Now here's a cracker of a match again. There's some really good matches in the top half. Kieran Earls from Bruff versus Jack Buckley Collinstown. Jack Buckley beat Sean Goggin last week in the Leinster match play. Ian?
Yes, and he played well against Mr. Miller as well in the second round, but Mark bet him 3-2, I think. Kieran, I don't know what can I say about Kieran. He's some player now, in fairness. Like he won the World Tour, was it? Or World
Yeah,
Championship, I think. Yeah. And bet me in the final in Larkspur. Played great stuff that weekend now, in fairness to him. And I know young Jack played well last weekend, Sean. It's going to be a good game to watch. I'm just going to side with Kieran for this one.
Damien?
Yeah, look, to be honest, I'm going to go Kieran as well. I think if Jack hadn't beaten Sean Goggins, but I think the fact that he beat Sean Goggins means that Kieran isn't going to take it lightly, and I think that will stand to him. I think the shock of, I suppose, 2 weeks ago, Kieran probably wondering who he was playing. Now I would have known Jack coming through the juvenile grades. He would have been quite a very good juvenile. But I think Kieran, I played him last week in Tralee. He didn't have his best stuff, admittedly, but look, at the national match plays Kieran Earls. I think he'll bring his 3 clubs up to St. Bridget's, and have to get that in there. He'll bring his 3 clubs up. I think it could be Jack has the potential to cause a shock, but I think Kieran should win it still.
Yeah, banana skin potentially, but we're
without a doubt. But I think, but you could say that, Frank. But maybe after he beat Sean Goggins, so at the end of the day, I don't think it would be. I think Kieran would be well aware of Jack's potential after that.
Yeah, Jack, very good. Right, we're going to swap the order now. Damien, you go first. You're going to go first, and it's Sean Goggin, McBride versus Thomas Lynch from ESB. Thomas back to playing again. He kind of flits in and out of the game from time to time, but a super player, intercounty player for Cork, and did very well in Larkspur Park a couple of years ago. Damien.
Yeah, it's for me. Look, I'm going to go with Sean, but like I just feel Tom's a bit like someone who comes out of hibernation every so often and kind of causes a few shocks here and there. But he definitely, look, there's no question if like he beat Brian Delaney in the county match play in Cork there not the long gun
and played superb, played brilliant.
Yeah, and like there's no doubt about it. If Tom turns up and brings the game he can bring, he will give Sean problems. I just think, look, Sean he won the Leinster last year in St. Bridget's, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I'm thinking that. So just think like he knows the place very well, and I feel losing the first round in the Leinster last week, I think Sean will be out to right or wrong, So I feel Sean will come through that one.
Ian?
Yes, I'm going to go with Damien here. This one, Thomas, as you said, the super player in the county winning and the winning side. he comes and goes. If he says that, he'd be a super player. I'm just going to go with Sean.
Grant. Um, don't be surprised if Thomas Lynch beats him. Thomas is capable of great stuff, but again, I'd have to side with Sean on this one too. Okay, Damien, Marco Comerford from Hillview versus Owen Keating from Douglas. Owen, an intercounty player for Cork as well. Probably not reaching the heights he has this year over the last couple of years, but he's still a strong competitor. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think he is a good match player. Like, he has good experience in match play from the leagues as well this year. You know, they went a long way in the leagues with Douglas, and I think it'll be a tight game because I don't think Owen is playing as well as he can play. But I think he will have no pressure. Last year in Douglas, he probably had huge pressure on his shoulders down in there and over the course of the weekend. So I think St. Bridget is like a free shot for him, and I think he'll have enough to come through that game.
Great stuff, Ian.
Yeah, I think I'll go with Owen, but I think Marco got to the quarterfinals last year in Douglas. He bet Chris Gallagher bet him in the quarters. I think it was the quarters anyway.
But before that, yeah, go on, yeah.
Yeah. I think Owen might be just a bit strong for Marco and I think I'm going to go with Owen Keating.
Very good. Now, next round, my old sparring buddy Jim Judge Jr. from McBride. Jim Judge and myself played in the intermediate match play championship up in Tullamore in 1990. We're not giving away our age or anything, but that's how long. Yeah. Anyway, Jim Judge is playing Declan Freeman from Fermoy. So pick that one.
Yeah, I actually played Jim in a national match on the Lakeside. Been on a long time, good player. I imagine he will know St. Bridget's quite well. Played Declan Freeman last year in Bishopstown, the quarterfinal of the Munster Match Play, and Declan played well in that. I feel, yeah, I fancy Declan. I think he's a good match player, to be honest with you. He's playing a bit better. I've seen him a few times out there. You know, there's sometimes practices it depends on Declan's level of practice. But if Declan is playing, I think he's a match for anyone. So I'm going to side with Declan. Side with a lot of cock for this, Frank. Just walk it on with it.
Ian?
Jim is playing well. He plays well in St. Bridget's. Declan, good player, good match player. He's playing well, in fairness. I'm going to give you the casting vote, Frank. I think I'll go with Jim.
That's not right. Declan Freeman beaten in the final of the Munster Match Play last year in Bishopstown. Declan, I'm afraid that Declan is probably a better putter from outside 6 feet than he is in 6 feet, but he's a super pitcher of the ball. I'm going to go with Declan in this one. There you go. Sorry, Jim, but that's life. Right. Darren Keogh Royston versus Leonard O'Mara from Erie. Damien.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Darren. I think the local advantage. I think Darren should know St. Bridget's like the back of his hand. And he's looked Darren as well, capable of playing. So I feel, yeah, I'm going to go with Darren.
Very good.
No real explanation on this. That's my gut.
Yeah. Ian?
I'm going to go with Darren as well. Oh, yes. He's a good friend of mine. Playing well. He's playing well now, in fairness. He's down playing the last couple of weeks there. He's I know Leonard won in the Scrim Scratch Cup last year, but I think Darren might be a bit strong for Leonard.
Very good. It's great to see the volunteer work that Darren and the Kildare team are putting in with the juveniles and stuff as well. So well done there. And Darren gets our vote. Right, another cracker of a match. This is one of the highlights, I think, of the afternoon session on Saturday. John Ross Crangle, Loughlinstown versus Sean Harkins from Royston. Damien.
Can we call it a draw? Move on.
No draws, I'm
I,
afraid.
I
Tie holes.
look. I don't know, to be honest. Look, JR is JR. Like if JR turns up, we might, like, he could beat anyone at any given time. Like, I'm not sure how well he's playing, to be honest with you. My lack of a presence on social media kind of takes me out of all these things. Obviously, Ian has first-hand experience of how well Sean is playing, and I know he won the Kildare match play as well, and he's playing an awful lot of pitch and putt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is.
And playing well, to be honest with you. Look, I feel this could come down to a putting competition, and look, I don't mean to bring up an old wound, Ian, but if Sean puts, I'd say he'd be very, very hard to beat. But I having said all that, I just think JR hasn't been on the scene for a couple of years with injury. Had to withdraw to semi-final stage last year, if I'm not mistaken, down on Bridges with his back.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he's fit and if he's healthy and if he's I don't know how he's after doing Loughlin's down today, but I presume he's after doing okay. And I think JR would possibly cause an upset to the locals. But like, having said that, like, if this goes to tie holes, you wouldn't be surprised. And if Sean puts, then again he could blow JR straight out the wall. But I'm going to side with JR because he could kill me otherwise. But I'll side with JR.
Okay, Ian.
Yes, JR. It's going to be some match, I'll say now. Sean, as Damien said, like, Sean's playing well. I don't know how JR is playing at the moment. But I'll have to give it to Sean. I'm going to give you the casting vote, Frank. Sorry.
I have a great time for Sean Harkins. I think he's one of the gents of the game and a true champion, and his heart is in the game. I think the advantage in this for Sean is that it's the Saturday. It's not the third match on the Sunday, and but Sean's a fine, healthy, and a fit guy. And I think that's the question here. If JR is healthy and fit, I think it's JR's. So I'm going to go with JR on the basis of that. Right. Anthony Manny St. Bridget's versus Anthony Galvin Tullamore. Damien?
Could do with Ian here. Tell me,
Yeah, Ian,
he's the young lad. Ian, is he?
Yeah,
Is he?
yeah. He made his debut in the Clare team last year. Played well now, in fairness to him. He's back playing late this year, but he's been down practicing the last few weeks now. So I know Anthony Galvin is playing well. He won the Tullamore Scratch Cup. He was betting the playoff in Kilbeggan against Sean Goggin. And I'm just going to give it to the local man, Anthony, because he's down practicing now, in fairness to him, and he played well. He's back playing well, so I'm going to give it to Anthony Matney.
Very good.
Damien, yeah, I look. Yeah, I'll go with that. Look, definitely, I'm looking around. Like, Anthony Galvin, I think, did he not win a Scratch Cup not that long ago in Tullamore, and he's doing okay. But I just think, look, local knowledge stands for an awful lot in the first round of the match play, especially, you know. So, yeah, I'll side. I'll go with Anthony.
Very good. Right.
Anthony Mahoney, that is no
Mahoney, right? Yeah. Luke Mannering Erie versus Dennis Monaghan Shandon.
I don't know Luke. I don't know anything about Luke, to be honest with you. I know of Dennis. As just based on that alone, I'll go with Dennis. Do we know anything about Luke? Is he?
I think he's a junior from Erie. Yeah. I think he's only playing this year or last year. I think. Yeah. In fairness to him, he travels around with Willie Buckley and them in different scratch clubs.
Yeah, so like you never know. Like, to be honest with you, like when you don't know a name, you kind of never know what to expect. But look, Dennis has been around quite a while. So based on that alone, I'll give that to Dennis.
Ian?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dennis as well. I know Luke travels around with Willie and them, and in fairness to, and he goes with Dennis as well. So, but I'm going to give it to Dennis. Experience in that. So
very good. Right. Eamon Gibney Castletown versus Sean Minogue Riverdale.
Look, Eamon needs to start turning up at these things now. I'm going to say that straight out to him. Like, he's too good not to be able to win a national at this point. So I'm going to give it to Eamon, even though I know Sean's a fantastic player. But I'm going to give it to Eamon, and I'm going to tell Eamon it's time to step up now, because he's definitely got the ability, you know. So I think this could be Eamon's year. So I think I'm going to go with Eamon.
Very good. Ian?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Damien, but It's just Damon says Sean's a good player. Like he's been around a good while now. He'd be a good match player. Well, I think as Damon said, like Damon has to pull up his socks now and win a title.
Yep.
Over to Eamon.
Over to you, Eamon. Right. Next one, John McGrath, Deer Park versus Kevin Knox from Gowran.
Yeah, I can't go with anyone else, Frank. Has to be John.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I go with John as well myself.
Yeah, he beat you in Tralee last week, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
we can't mention that. No,
Yeah,
really.
okay.
He played. Look, he played
super.
well. He played very well. Now, to be fair, I'm not sure. He was on about going up there yesterday. Whether he went up or not, he might be able to tell me. But he was on about going up yesterday to practice. If he doesn't go up and doesn't practice, well, then he'll deservedly get beat. But no, I think John should have enough to win that match. He knows St. Bridges well. We've been regular travellers to the Shotgrass over the years, so he knows Kildare courses quite well.
Very good. Colm Yates, Rochford Bridge versus Kyle Kennedy, Hillview. Kyle's a good young player. I don't know Colm Yates at all.
Yeah, I don't. Say that again, Ian.
Sorry, he's an intern from Rochford Bridge. That's all I know.
Yeah, I go with Kyle. Kyle's a kind of a regular turning up now at big events like he's performing, so I think Kyle should have enough to win that match.
Very good.
Yeah, I'll go with Damien here, but yeah, Kyle is a good player, young player. He's a talented player. I know Colin played last week in the match play and got better in the tie hall in the second round, so but I think Kyle will have enough for Colin.
Very good. Now, an old county affair. Stephen Murray versus Andrew Lowe.
I'm going to go with Stephen. I think Stephen's playing well. Performed very well last week. Obviously, Ian will have better idea of how he's playing as opposed to me, but I just think Stephen, from what I can see and what I hear, he's playing much better pitch and putt at the moment. So I'd be going with Stephen.
Yeah, he's playing well now. In fairness, he's back playing well. He's putting well. Andy, good talent player. Like he travels everywhere. He goes to every scratch cup. But what I seen last week, I'm going to give it to Stephen.
Very good. Okay. Padraig Mallon Trim versus Mark O'Regan Tralee. Damien.
Yeah, I've done a bit of research into this one because I was a little bit worried about who Mark could draw. Mark could be Jason's young fella.
Yeah.
Mark could be just out of performed very well last year in the Junior All Ireland, would still be in the junior grade. Mm-hmm. Was beaten last week by Dean Lanigan in the Munster match play. Look, Mark, I feel Padraig is a good up and coming player, good young player. I think it's a great experience for Mark. But I think Padraig should have enough to overcome him.
Padraig's a 3 handicapper from Trim.
Yeah, so I think Padraig will win the match, but I think Mark will give a good account for himself. He's a very good pitcher of the ball. I don't know where he gets it from. I suppose didn't lick it off a stone, but he's a very good pitcher of the ball. And to be honest with you, Frank always performs well in big events, so he will put it up to Padraig, but I think ultimately Padraig should have the scoring power to win the match.
Ian, you going to any change from that?
No, I think I'll go with Padraig.
Yeah, great stuff. John Sloan Cunningham, great servant to the game, has been around for years and years and years. Not that he's that old or anything, but a real interest in the game, draw for the game, in running a slow furrow in Cunningham and Waterford against Patrick Robinson from Gowran, an experienced player as well. Damien.
John was the last week working in my garden, Frank.
Was he?
For that alone, I got to give it to John.
Fair enough.
No, I think he didn't feel me like he was going to try and win it, but he feels like he's playing okay. He was telling me he's like over 40 years playing the game, has been a great servant. So I think he put up a good performance. And Patrick obviously played very well last week. I think he got to the semi-final in the intermediate, or did he get to the final intermediate? But I think John. I'm going to give it to John. Yeah, just out of loyalty alone.
Right, Ian.
I'm going to go against Damien here. I'm going to give you the cast and vote. Patrick got in the third tie hole against Wayne Allen, the outright winner of the intermediate last week. So yeah, he travelled up and all. So I'm going to give this to Patrick.
Right. I have great time for John Stone. I think he's a gentleman, but I'm going to vote for Patrick, as is my want. Right. Michael Conneely from Trim versus DJ Lynch from Tipperary Hills. Damien.
I know DJ. I'm not too sure about Michael Keneally now, to be honest with you. I'm going to go with Michael. I think he's a senior. He's a senior out of Meath, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he may have come out of a tough enough section up there. DJ's well travelled, very very good player. Gave Ray Murphy a right good run for his money down Tralee last week. I just think Leinster up in Leinster. I think Michael will probably know St. Bridget's that bit better, and I think he'll hold his own up there.
Ian?
Yeah, he was up there during the week as well. Michael was out practicing, and I was talking to him. He's playing well. DJ, what can I say about DJ? He travels everywhere, plays in everything. But I'm just going to give it to Michael on this one.
Very good. I would have given it to DJ. There you go now, boys. You have me flummoxed. Right. John O'Leary Douglas, great player, inter-county player last year, won this event twice, but it was in the 80s or something, versus Keith Redmond. Keith was a super player as well, playing out of Erie these days. Back, and I believe playing extremely well. Damien.
Just Frank, just because he won it in the 80s doesn't mean he didn't win it. Like you said that, like it was an awful long time ago. If you won in the 80s, you still listen to it. Great to see Keith back. That's the first thing. It's fantastic to see Keith back. I'm not sure how he's playing, to be honest with you. When he
I heard he's playing well now. I heard he's playing well.
Yeah, I know he had a bit of time away, and prior to that, he was to be honest with you, he was a regular on the Dublin team and was playing fantastic pitch and putt. And if it was that Keith Redmond that turned up, I think John would have his work cut out in a big way. I probably go against the grain here. I'm going to side with Keith basically, and the reason for that, I think John's back isn't up to he's complaining if his back not been great, and I know he shot some very good scores recently, but St. Bridget's is a long course. Keith will know it. He will know St. Bridget's very well, and if he's playing well, I think Keith will beat John.
Yeah, this is going to be a good match. It'll be a close game, I think. Keith is playing well, in fairness to him. John was up there during the week. I'm just going to go with the Leinster man. I go with Keith for this one.
Right. Okay.
We're rightly flicking you up here, Frank.
Yeah, but the thing right. No, I absolutely expect Keith to give him a real good game. But John O'Leary's a class player. And remember this, John O'Leary beat me last year, so he must be brilliant. All right. Anyway.
he claims he peaked.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it's all downhill after that. Right. Final match: John Cahill from Moy versus Tony Blake Tralee. Damien.
Yeah.
Go on. Vote for Tony. Don't vote for Gary.
I can't. Do you want me? Look, I tell you one thing, and John Cahill knows this. Tony Blake will give John Cahill enough of it. Tony played very well against Omagh, and was unlucky not to beat Omagh down Tralee, and Omagh was very unlucky not to beat Jason Cregan. I played Tony the county match play in Tralee this year. He played very, very well against me. He is playing good now. I know you could say that's locally at home. If Tony can bring his form outside of Kerry, he will perform well. Like he gave Brian Delaney a very good run for his money not that long ago on the national match play out in Rock Lodge. So Tony can play it. Let's don't think for a second that he can't. But I think John should have too much for him ultimately. John Cahill's a class player. He's playing good pitch and putt at the moment. He will want to get back to where he was last year on that Monday, and he'll want to probably try and finally get the match play title. So I fancy John to beat Tony, but I think Tony will give a very good account of himself.
Ian?
I think I'm going to go with Damien. Yeah, Tony's a good supporter of the game, in fairness to him. He goes everywhere, in fairness. John, he was unlucky last year, played well, but I'm going to give it to John.
Grant. Tony Blake said he was going to give me chipping lessons if I voted for him, so I'm voting for Tony. But just let you know, right? Okay, guys, that does round one, right? Now we're going to have to up the speed because we're coming close to the hour mark. But I think that's been interesting so far. As you can see, as we've been scoring them, they've been putting a 1 or a 2 there, and that brings us directly into the second round. And we're going to quickly go through these. We know all the players at this stage. We know what the deals and dealings of them are. And Ian, you're going to have the first lash this time. Dahi Sexton, who's come through a tough match against Barry Morrissey, versus George McGreal. Who are you going with?
George.
George.
Close game, though. Close game.
Damien?
Yeah, I'm going with George as well, yeah.
Yeah. Should be a very, very tough game, and I think that's going to be interesting. Jason O'Regan versus Stephen O'Reilly. Ian again.
Another close game, but I'm going to go with Jason.
Damien?
I could have kind of an in-house thing here, but I'm going to go with Jason. But if Jason loses, you let him crack. That's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough. Right, here's a match that's worthy of the finals. Chris Scannell versus John Walsh.
John Walsh.
Damien?
Yeah, like this is one of those ones you it's nearly impossible to call. I'm not sure what kind of record they have against each other. Chris came through. Look, let's be honest. Chris came through in an unbelievable group.
Mm-hmm. That adds a confidence to you. That adds a confidence.
Yeah, it is. It is. Look, John Cahill did the same last year. You saw what he did in the finals. I had this conversation with John Cahill, and we talked about that. Whoever came through that would have a massive advantage. But look, I'm going to side with John just based on his experience. He's playing super pitch and putt all year, and he won the Cork match play as well in kind of devastating form down at Clay Castle. I don't think anyone got close to him.
No.
But it's hard because I suppose they haven't had that qualifying run coming in when you're automatic. But I still think John will come through that. Be a great game though.
I think it'd be a super game, yeah. Okay. Gary Healy versus Christopher Gibney Jr. Ian?
Gary.
Damien?
Yeah, I'm never going to hear it into this, but I'm going to go with Gary as well, and Chris will be on to me probably within about 10 minutes of the thing, but sure, that's okay too.
Chris is right. Anyway, no, Gary's doing super well and should go far in this. We'll see now in a minute what we think. John Delaney versus Martin Keohane.
John Delaney.
Yeah, I'm going to side with John there as well. Yeah, I think I'm going by Ian saying that John is playing well. Yeah, I'll go with John based on those two people. Yeah.
Very good. My vote has changed there. Right. Michael Conway from Kerry versus William Buckley Jr. I think this will be a very interesting game as well.
This is going to be a cracker game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Willie.
I'm going to go Mike all day long.
Just stop. Willie
Super
Buckley.
Player.
Willie Buckley. We move on.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Mike.
Prove him wrong, Mike.
Prove him wrong. Right. Guys, we are, of course, totally hypothetical at this stage because we're saying people have won matches that we know they haven't won yet.
They could be gone up.
Yeah, they could be well gone. We'll be all on the M50 down home and stuff at this stage, but sure, we'll keep going. Right. Mark Miller versus Tom McCormack.
It's another close game, I think, but I have to give it to Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mark as well. Just experience alone. If Tom is coming back into the game, kind of not playing much of it competitively, I think Mark would have too much at that point. I think if Mark gets through the first round, he'll have a lot of confidence in that second round match. So I'll go with Mark.
I think the first round is the key to that one for Mark. Right. Yeah. Match 8, Donald Tarpey versus Kieran Earls.
I'll stick with Mr. Earls.
Yeah, I'll go with Kieran there as well, yeah.
Very good. And then we have, I think that's a nice draw for Kieran on the Sunday morning. And then Sean Goggin versus Owen Keating from Douglas.
Another cracker match. I think I'll stick with Sean.
Yeah, I think Sean will be anxious to get that match play added to the slope play from last year, so I go with Sean as well.
Very good. Owen Keating is staying in my hotel room, I'll have you know that. Right, so
definitely going with Sean. So
I had that room booked. Anyway,
He won't sleep on
he wants
Saturday
Steve.
night.
Yeah. Okay. Declan Freeman versus Darren Keogh.
Another good match. This will be a close game, but I'm going to stick with Darren.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about the putting, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Big close match. I'm going to side with Declan. I just think he's a very. I think people underestimate how good of a player Declan Freeman is. And I think he's gone far in this match play before. I think he lost to John McGrath in the quarter final in Tullamore not too long
He
ago.
did. Yeah.
Where Declan might find it hard, could be the third round on Sunday if he got there. But I think first thing on a Sunday morning, refreshed, I think he'd be. I think he'd have enough to beat Darren there.
That did occur to me on in Tullamore. He was feeling he was exhausted, and sometimes when you get to the third round, it's more about the mental exhaustion rather than anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's very good weather forecast for the week as well, Frank.
could be very hot. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think because it's the Sunday morning, because the home advantage stuff is kind of gone out the door at this stage. I'm going to go with Declan because I've got the deciding vote, and there we go. Right. John Ross Crangle versus Anthony Mahoney.
Yes, I think Anthony might be. This might be his final, but I think I'm going to give it to John Ross.
Yeah, I'd be going with GR as well there, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now yours after having a great game against Sean Harkins in the previous round, but we're going with John Ross. Dennis Monaghan versus Eamon Gibney.
Mr. Gibney.
Yeah. In the first row, we have to kind of stick with him. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Eamon there. Yeah.
Eamon there. John McGrath versus Kyle Kennedy.
This will be a close game, I think. I'm going to go with John.
Yeah, I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be tight. Like it really just depends if John turns up. John's got to semi-final this before, and he's a good record in match play. He's a tough little competitor, So I'll go with John, but I wouldn't be surprised either if John gives me a phone call at 12 o'clock on Sunday morning saying you jinx me.
Yeah, fine. Match 14, Stephen Murray versus Padraig Mallon.
I'll stick with Stephen Murray.
Damien?
Yeah, the same. Yeah, I think Stephen should have enough to get over that one.
Very good. Patrick Robinson versus Michael Keneally.
So this will be a close game. Oh, I think I'll stay with Patrick Robinson.
Damien?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Michael. I just think he came through a tough draw. I could be wrong here. Evan will be answering me now later saying that I was wrong, but I think Michael came through a tough section in Meath, and if he's putting in the effort, I think he'll have enough to come through that.
Yeah, I don't know who to pick on this. I've two down here. I'm not sure why. I'll leave it at two. But I think that's a real toss-up, to be honest. I couldn't even predict that. I don't know I have no idea how they'd price that either. Right. And then I think this could be a great match as well. Keith Redmond versus John Cahill.
Yes, I'm going to stick with John Cahill.
Damien?
Yeah, I'll go with John as well. I know. I do think if Keith plays well, he definitely has a chance but I just think John is really up for this. He's up for this year, so I think John will win that.
Very good. We're now on to round 3, which is the Sunday afternoon. I think home advantage is dead and buried at this stage. I think everybody who's playing the course now knows the course as well as they're going to know it. They'll know all the pin positions. They'll have played at least 4 rounds on every hole. And we have a great match in match 1, George McGreal versus Jason O'Regan. Damien, you're up first this time. How are you going with?
Sorry, Jay. Time to come home. I'm going to go with George.
Fair enough. Ian?
And I'm killed, but I'm okay with it.
I'm going to go with George as well. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, no, I think this could be very tight though. I think this could be very interesting. I think of all of the sessions, I think this session has got some absolutely brilliant games in it. I'd advise anyone to get up there over the weekend if you can, but this session is superb. There's some top to bottom. There's some good games if our predictions are right. But I think this is where it really starts to come together as a championship. Okay, George Reveal's true. John Walsh versus Gary Healy.
You coming to me first?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I know this. I'm not going to win this vote, but I'm going to go with John. I just think he's just playing very, very good pitch and putt, and I just think he loves the battle, and I think he knows possibly going to be underdog in that match, which might surprise people when I say that. But I think that's the kind of time you see John really come to the fore. So I fancy John to come through that.
I'll give you the cast and vote, Frank. I'm going to go with Gary.
I'm surprised that you would say that John's the underdog in that. You know,
yeah, based on Gary's record around St. Bridget's getting to the semi-final last year, and he's playing good pitch and putt, and like he's playing very good pitch and putt the last kind of 24 months. Really, he's playing, and like the natural progression for Gary would be to go and win one of these.
Mm-hmm.
So for that alone, I think if you're betting that up, it'll be. I think the bookie would be siding with Gary, but I'd be siding with John.
Yeah. Okay. So you're leaving it up to me, right? This is lovely now.
Kind of know what you're going to do as well, so definitely leaving it up to you know.
What am I going to do? I'm not that predictable. Like I'm.
No, you are. Oh, you are. I know, and it's not what people think you're going to do. I know what you're going to do.
That goes to number 2, right?
Is that right?
We'll go on. John Delaney versus William Buckley Jr. You know John's going to ring me now the minute this goes out. Say, what the hell are you saying? Gary Healy? No, Gary Healy is after coming on leaps and bounds the last couple of years, and
yeah,
I think for John to have his work.
He's playing well.
Yeah, it will definitely be a big step for Gary if he was to manage to beat John.
Oh yeah,
like
I think
that would be a massive scalp. But I feel, I don't know. I just
Gary Healy beat me in Royston a couple of years back, and I think Gary was more as surprised as everyone was, and I think he needs to remember that he
that
needs to
take. Scalp,
yeah, that wasn't a big scalp, but he needs to remember that it's just the next game that he's got to go, and I think that he'll be well up for that, and I think he could move on from that. So Gary Healy gets the vote.
You have to remember now, John has just beat Chris Scannell. So
yeah, and there's a lot of adrenaline gone out of that as well, and it's a Sunday afternoon, it's hot, and yeah, and John isn't a huge fan of Bridget's either, and Bridget's is very much a putting course. No, we're going with Gary Healy. A bit surprising for myself there, but there you go. Right, John Delaney versus William Buckley Jr.
I hit Willie knocked out in the last round by
Too late, he's still in it.
If he's still in it, and we're basing it on the fact that he's won 2 matches, I'm going to go with Willie. I think like what you've just said there, the heat, the whole 4 rounds and Sunday at that point, I think Willie, as like last year he showed in Douglas, as the competition went on, he got better.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to side with Willie there.
Very good.
I'm going to go with Damien as well on this one. I think John, it'll be too much for John at this stage now after playing 2 rounds, and as Damien said, it's going to be warm the weekends, and I'm going to go with Willie Buckley.
Very good. Mark Miller versus Kieran Earls, another cracker of a match if it comes to pass. Damien.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Mark. Again, there's a number of things to consider. I just think Mark, if he has got over his first 2 matches, I think he'll be coming into the competition quite well, and I think he'll have enough to beat Kieran in that match.
Yeah.
It's another cracking match. I'm going to give you the cast and vote, Frank, on this one, because I think I stick with Kieran Earls.
Love it.
This is a tough one now.
We should do this every match, Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good enough.
He gets to blame then.
Yeah, I think Kieran. Yeah, this is tough. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Kieran. But that's a tough one. Right, keep going. Sean Goggins versus Declan Freeman.
I'm going to go with Sean. Just think that stage with I'll side with Sean. I think he's
He'll have matured into it at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah, he's number one in the country. Like at the end of the day, you know, he'd be gone past the stage of shocks at that point. So I think he'll have enough to come through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sean myself. This one.
Very good. Okay. John Ross Crangle versus Eamon Gibney.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Eamon. Like I just feel it's time for Eamon to get to this stage and kind of perform. I think he does perform, but I think he's often the bridesmaid, and I think this is the one that he's due to win one. Like just something about finding form. I'm going to go with Eamon.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Damien here on this one. Yeah, I think Mr. Gibney it's his time now. I think
it's his time. Putter's courses, Bridget's right. John McGrath versus Stephen Murray.
Yeah, come on, without the carry, John. I'll go with Stephen. I think Stephen's playing great pitch and putt. Now John will be well up for a fight, but I think Stephen is playing good pitch and putt.
Yeah.
So I'm going to side with Stephen at that point. Yeah.
Ian.
Yeah, I think I go with Stephen. From last week's performance, I'm going to go with Stephen. Yes.
Very good. Michael Keneally versus John Cahill.
Yeah, I'm going to go with John. Look, I've said enough about how he's playing, and I think his motivation to win is high. So I'm going to go with John. Yeah.
Yeah.
You okay with
go
that?
With Damien there. Yeah. Perfect.
I think that's part of the reason why John Cahill is favourite in the bookies' mind, because yes, he's playing strong players and he's playing the mud, but he's not playing a JR or a Gibney or Sean Goggins at this stage, and he needs to preserve his energy. This is going to be grueling in the quarterfinals, which are here on a Sunday night, 3 matches into a boiling hot day. I think it could be very interesting. And we've an all Dublin partnership for this match. So George McGreal versus Gary Healy. Talk to me. Ian, your choice.
They're a tough game. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with Gary after being John. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm going to side with George. I just played with him last year in Ring Commons. I think he showed me. Yeah, I just think all he needs is a bit of self-belief. I think he gets to the quarterfinal at that stage. I think George will carry that self-belief with him. Fantastic player, playing super pitch and putt. And Gary, I think I have something against him, but I don't. But I feel George is playing very, very well, and that this would be a massive opportunity for him if he gets to that point. I think he's someone that will step into it, and I think I fancy George to beat Gary.
So deciding vote for me, right? Yeah, I think this is a toss of a coin, to be honest. I think I would like to see Gary. I don't know. I think he's got a great chance, but I'm gonna, for the sake of it, I'm gonna go with George this time, and to pass him. It's a Sunday night. It's tough. It's about mental, and I think George is just that little bit more experienced, a little bit more confidence, maybe. But here to be proven wrong. Willie Buckley Jr. versus Kieran Earls, another great match on paper.
They're a super match. Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening. Sorry. The weather, like what it's going to be, I'm just going to side with Willie Buckley.
Ian or Damien?
I think if you get to that stage in the championship, I know we can talk about the weather and that kind of stuff, but I just think Kieran will, if he's got to there, I don't think Kieran will lose that match. I think Kieran wins that match all along.
I think Kieran wins as well. I would be fearful of fitness at this stage, but I've got Kieran down, and I'm going to stick to Kieran on that. Match 3, Sean Goggins versus Eamon Gibney.
Another cracking match. I'm going to go with Sean in the tie hole.
Right. Damien?
I'm going to go with Eamon. I think Eamon is tough game. It'll be. I don't. These matches are never going to be high scoring. The quarterfinals are never high scoring. They'd be good friends. So I think it'd be probably a tough match for both of them. I just think, and I know you're going to say about putting again, but I fancy Eamon. I just think Eamon is I just think sometimes it's his time, and sometimes like that. I believe that's possibly going to be Eamon's time. So no pressure.
No pressure. Yeah, this is another toss of a coin. I have 2 down. I'm going to stick with 2. I think Sean. Yeah, this will be well into it. I know that both of them will want to win it. Aim Gibney will be telling everybody in the universe he's playing badly, but he's a super competitor. I'm going to go with Eamon. Right. Stephen Murray versus John Cahill.
Another cracking match.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with Stephen.
Okay. Damien?
Yeah, this is a tough match. Again, 5th and 6th round on a Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen wins. But there's something about John this year. I'm going to side with John. I think that he'll overcome that match, but like heavy intimidation in any way, shape, or form by who he's playing. No fear at all of taking on John, so I think it could be a cracking match. You've got 4 cracking quarterfinals there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you do as well. And you give me the deciding vote again. I just remember in the quarterfinal, the second 18 holes, John Cahill versus Eamon Gibney last year in Douglas. John just found another gear when it was fatigue, when everything was in, and I'm going to go with John purely on that basis. Right, semi-finals. George McGreal versus Kieran Earls and Eamon Gibney versus John Cahill, a repeat of the quarterfinal last year. Ian, called the first match.
George.
Damien?
Yeah, I'm going to go with George as well, yeah.
Okay, that makes my life easy. And second match, Eamon versus John Cahill.
As you said last year, John played unreal in the second round against Mr. Gibney. Eamon might want to pay back, so I'm going to go with Eamon.
Damien?
Yeah, it's a tough one to call, yeah. I suppose you have revenge from the point of view of Eamon, but you also had extra motivation from John, I suppose, with losing the final last year. I'll side with Eamon, which is probably going a little bit against my gut. I just think if Eamon gets to the semi-final, I think he'll get fierce confidence from it, So, yeah, I'll go with Eamon and all into the final.
Never underestimate the power of sleeping in your own bed is one thing that I always say as well. So our final, George McGreal versus Eamon Gibney. Ian?
Since Eamon has gone this far, I might as well give it. I'm going to go with Eamon, so to win it,
Kiss of death. Damien?
Will we make it interesting, Frank? Will we give you the deciding vote? I like being straight with you. I think if you get to that final, I do believe you're going to have a first winner of a national match this year. I do. Looking at the draws, looking at everything. I do feel that this year will be a first time winner, and you have 3 potential first time winners in the semi-finals. The way it's going, I definitely feel George McGreal is very close to winning. I think what might possibly hold him back is the fact that he hasn't got over the line before, and it might be new territory for him. But having said that, to break through, you have to get there. And they'll both be very, very nervous. You mentioned something about like putting in things like that. If it comes down to a putting competition, I think George probably has the hours put in with it, and he has a very, very solid putting stroke. Look, for that reason, I'll go with George. I do believe if he gets that bit of belief in him, I do feel that he could definitely win this one.
George McGreal is the winner of our virtual pitch and putt tournament.
Are you going with him as well?
Yeah. Purely because but you got to remember last year we did this and Sean Goggins was the virtual winner and he was beaten in the first round. So I'm not saying
I think I've won. I think I've won it twice and got beat in the first round both
Yeah,
times.
exactly. Yeah. So, no, it's not a kiss of death or anything. George Creel is the winner of our virtual pitch and putt tournament 2023. I'd like to thank you both very much for the time and effort in going through all of those and coming along tonight. And thank you one and all. And we should do this again. So, and
Thanks, Frank.
hopefully next
Frank,
time we'll be talking about you instead of with you. All right.
you
So.
never know. Never know. That's the aim, Frank.
That's the aim. Thanks, guys. Thanks to all the listeners.
Get
I
Thanks,
on.
hope you
Frank,
appreciate it. Thanks for the feedback. And if
cheers.
you spread it around. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.
thanks,
Frank.
Frank. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.